Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everyone, depending upon where you have joined from. And welcome to another webinar from Data Platform Geeks. Today, our session is on understanding nulls in SQL Server. And my name is Satya Ramesh, and I will be the speaker and host for you for today. And Aarti Nambiar is helping me with moderation. So before we begin, we do a lot of free in-person events and webinars throughout the year and under the name of Data Platform Geeks and SQL Server Geeks. So you can visit dataplatformgeeks.com to find out all our upcoming events. And I request my colleague Aarti to put up all our social channels so that if you wish to follow us in Twitter, LinkedIn, Facebook, Telegram, or if you want to receive all our updates through email blogs, you will be able to do that. So there is one link, a small bit.ly link. I'll share that with you in chat window. You can use that link and go through that web page and join in social channel of your wish, so that you will be able to get all our updates there. We have channels in Twitter, channels on Facebook, LinkedIn, Telegram, everywhere. So once in a year, we do this annual summit called Data Platform Summit. So here is Data Platform Summit, which focuses on Microsoft Data Platform, AI, and analytics technologies. So we have already conducted 5 summits: 2015, 16, 17, 18, and 19. And we, in short, shortly we are going to announce Data Platform Summit 2020 as well. Here is a quick picture, group picture of Data Platform Summit 2019, which happened in the month of August in 2019 in Bangalore. So wherein close to 1,000 people traveled down from 16 different countries to attend more than 100 plus sessions delivered by 50 plus speakers who again traveled down from 20 different countries. So if you wish to learn more about Data Platform Summit, you can visit dps10.com, or else you can simply drop an email to contact@dps10.com. Here is a picture of DPG core team: Amit Bansal, who is a founder and president; Manohar Punna, who is a vice president of Data Platform Geeks. And you can also see other regional mentors across different cities in India and abroad. Thanks to eDominate teams, which are helping us in organizing these free events. And special thanks to Microsoft for supporting our community initiatives. You are already a member of Data Platform Geeks. Remain as a member. You can, as I told you, you can follow us through all our social channels. And please whitelist our dataplatformgeeks.com domain so that you won't get our emails in spam. And make sure you add events at dataplatformgeeks.com to your address book so that you will receive our emails right in your inbox. So before we begin, I request Aarti to put up that social channel bit.ly link. So we are going to share this deck also. So that bit.ly link, bit.ly/social channels. If you click on that, you will be able to see all our social channels like Facebook, LinkedIn, Telegram, YouTube channels. We do record all our webinars and we upload them in our YouTube channels. All those things are there. So without any delay, let me just share my other deck and let's get started with the session. Can all of you confirm which screen you're seeing? Right now you're seeing understanding nulls in SQL Server, right? Please confirm in chat window. Yes. So before we begin, let's just understand from you, what do you mean by null? What is null in SQL Server? Can you please respond in chat window? What do you think about null? What is actually null means and why it is exists in SQL Server? I'm getting lots of values: missing value, no value, absence of a value, it's a blank, it's unknown, no data present. Null means empty or void, it's blank, nothing, undefined value, yes, void, undefined value, a value with is expecting, null. Yeah, we have got a lot of responses. So before we move to the what is null, etc., let's just understand this thing called three-value logic that exists in SQL Server. So how many of you already know about this three-value logic? Please respond in chat window, three-value logic. In SQL Server, and generally also for standard SQL, true, false, and unknown are the three possible values any logical expression can evaluate. This logical expression can be a predicate also. These predicates generally includes where, having, on, etc., etc. So this concept of true, false, and unknown is generally referred to as three-value logic. So generally, logical expressions in most programming languages can be either true or false, which is referred to as two-value logic or Boolean logic, where if you evaluate an expression, you will either get a true value or you will get a false value. But in SQL Server, or let's say in SQL in general, be it Oracle, be it MySQL, be it any general database management system which uses this standard language called SQL, follows three-value logic where true, false, and unknown values will be present. So this unknown logical value in SQL typically involves in a logical expression, the unknown logical value in SQL typically occurs in a logical expression, and we denote that with null in SQL Server. I hope the concept is very clear. Generally in SQL, we have true, false, and unknown, three output values for any logical expressions. This is called a three-value logic, and the unknown is represented as a null in SQL Server. I hope the concept of three-value logic is here. Let's see a couple of examples, something like, for example, if you take a where condition where null greater than 30. So we don't know the value of null. So if you don't know the value of null and it is unknown, that means it is unknown. And we cannot say unknown value is greater than 30 or not. So this yields the output of this particular condition yields a null again. And we cannot even compare null with another null also, because null itself is unknown and again another null is also unknown, and we cannot compare two unknowns. So we cannot say this unknown is equal to this unknown. So we cannot compare unknown values. That's why whenever this kind of a scenario comes in SQL Server will always outputs null value. And if you do arithmetic operations like null plus 1, for example, unknown value plus 1 is always unknown, and something like null plus 1, null plus 10 greater than 100 kind of a comparison, you are using some logical comparison like greater than, less than, etc. Because left hand side value is unknown, the output will be still unknown. So these are the small comparisons, like whenever there is null involved, the output will be null most of the times. And there are some logical inconsistencies that exist in SQL Server that we will discuss in a bit. But generally, this is the case that we should understand. Whenever we are comparing null with any value, the output will be null. And what is a null? As every one of you saying, null is a placeholder for a missing value. You can say um, all the responses that are there in chat window: undefined value, void, nothing, blank, and no data present, etc., etc. It's an absence of a value. All of these responses can be simply defined like null is a placeholder for a missing value. Null represents a missing value in SQL Server. Dealing with these null or unknown values can be so confusing at times, because our general understanding says that not true means false and not false means true. This is our general understanding. For example, if you are drinking a tea and someone asks you, how is it? And you say not good, that means it's bad, right? So, and sometimes you may say not bad, that means it's somewhat good. But generally in SQL Server, if you say the not true is equal to false and not false is equal to true, but in case of unknown, the opposite of unknown is still unknown. We cannot say opposite of unknown is not unknown. right? So the opposite of unknown is still unknown. That's why we cannot compare nulls is equal to nulls. So this is the general understanding of SQL Server, and SQL Server work with these three values differently for different elements. So that is where there will be so many logical inconsistencies. So in SQL Server, these unknown logical results and nulls are treated inconsistently in different elements of SQL Server. For example, all query filters such as where, having, and on treats unknown value as false. What do you mean by that? So that means for any row, if where predicate encounters unknown value, for any row, if the where predicate encounters unknown value, it is treated as false. So that means if for example, you have any query, select star from employee, where salary is equal to 50,000. This is a small select query, select star from employee, where salary is equal to 50,000. So whenever the value is null in the table, that null will be considered as a false and will be eliminated from the output result sets. That's what generally happens. So it is treated as a false and consequently eliminates from the output result set. On the other hand, for example, if you consider a check constraint, so as I'm telling you, different elements in SQL Server treats null as different, nulls different, right? Just now we have discussed where, having, an on filters, how they treat unknown values. So if the value is null, they are treating the unknown value as false and thus eliminating them from the output result set. So let's consider, on the other hand, how check constraint treats unknown values. Check constraint is actually treated, unknown values in check constraints are actually treated as true. That means if you have a check constraint on an age column in an employee table, so generally if you are storing employee details, and you should be taking employees who are having the age greater than 18 according to the Labor Act. So you have put up a check constraint on an age column that only if the age of a person is greater than 18, then only you should employ them, and then only that record should go into a employee table. So that's the example I'm talking about. So if I have a check constraint on an age column in an employee table, which accepts record only if the age of an employee is greater than 18, and if you do not pass the value for the same row, that means age is null for that row. So this record will be still inserted as null is treated as true by check constraints. So we will be looking into a small demo to prove this point, how check constraint is treating null value as true whenever you're inserting the data. This point will be doing a small demo so that the point will be proved. And sometimes a set operators, sorting and grouping operations, treats nulls as equals. That means set operators such as intersect, union, and except treats nulls as equals when comparing rows from the two different sets. And for example, if you do group by operation to perform any aggregation, all the nulls will be grouped together. So null is considered as equal at that particular point of time. And if you perform sorting operations by using order by clause, that means you are arranging the data either in ascending order or in descending order, all the nulls will be treated as equal there. If you are arranging the data based upon ascending order, all the nulls will come in the beginning of the result set. And if you are arranging the data in descending order, all the nulls will be coming at the bottom of the result set. So a small note that all these examples that we are discussing just now are assuming that the columns are nullable columns. So that means if you have not defined any not null constraint on top of a column. If you have defined a not null constraint on top of a column, then we won't be able to insert nulls. So there won't be any issue there. So few columns where there are nullable columns, and that is where we are talking about various check constraints, etc. So without any further delay, let's look into a couple of examples. So please put up S in chart window if you can able to see the VM. Yes. Yeah. So let me start with this. Let me use this SQL Maestros database for the demo purpose. And let me create a table. If you look into the table, I'm creating a table with two columns. One is ID column and other one is age column. And on the age column, we have a check constraint, which will check if the age of person is greater than 18 and less than 65, then only a row should be inserted into that particular table. So let me drop the table if exist. If you look into the syntax, a drop table if exist, the syntax is new, starting from SQL Server 2016. Before that, if you execute this script in earlier versions, it won't execute. So let me create this particular table. So, and I'm inserting some values into this particular employee table. And if you see values like 19, 20, 21, 22, and I'm inserting multiple values also. So all the values are well within our check constraint limit, greater than 18 and less than 65. So if I insert the values, all the values will get successfully inserted because all the values are well within the limits of our check constraint. Let's insert a value called 18. So our check constraint saying age should be greater than 18. If I insert age is equal to 18, then our query will fail. So the insert statement conflicted with the check constraint. So this particular row will not get inserted. So let me insert some default values. So if I insert default values and the default value for ID column is defined by identity property. So the value will be auto incrementing and the default value for this check will be null because it's a nullable column. So let me insert some default values, some 5 values. So if you look into this, the statement executed in loop for some time, and then we have inserted a couple of records. The point I want to make here is that we didn't encounter any error when we execute this particular statement. It conflicts with the insert statement conflicted with the check constraint. We have got an error, but when we are inserting a null value, we didn't get any error. As I said earlier, check constraint treats null value as true, thus we can able to insert data into the table. So let's execute this particular statement to look into the data. And if you see, we have got all the data into the table and there are nulls also. So that's where, as we are talking about, when we need to be aware that check constraint considers null value as true. I hope this concept is clear. Please respond in chat window if it is clear. Yeah, similarly, as we talk in our examples, how nulls will behave when we do a grouping, how nulls will behave when we do a grouping. So if you look into this statement, this simple select statement, where we are grouping the data based upon age, and we are counting the data, and we are counting how many people are there with the same age. So find the number of employees with the same age. So to find that, us we write a small group by query, select age comma count, number of sample age employees. I'm just giving an alias name for this. And if I execute this, all the nulls are grouped together and counted. So whenever there is a null values and we do a group by, all nulls are treated as equal. As I told you already, null will be treated inconsistently, uh, inconsistently with the different elements of SQL Server. That's what I told, right? So whenever you're doing a check constraint, it is considered as true. Whenever we are dealing with where, on, or having predicates, it is considering it as false. But whenever we are doing a group by, all the nulls are considered as equals. So that is where we need to be very clear that how different elements in SQL Server treats nulls differently. So whenever you do apply group by and do any aggregations, SQL Server will group all the nulls together. So that is this is the proof for that particular point. All the nulls are grouped together and the count is 5. Similarly, as I already told you, whenever you or arrange the data based upon ascending order or descending order, nulls, if you arrange the data in ascending order, the data will be, all the nulls will come on top. And if you arrange the data in descending order, all the nulls will come at the end. So this is our general understanding. This understanding is very, very important, because we do a lot of aggregations, and we arrange the data based upon some columns in either ascending order or descending order, and we perform top operation to get top 10 most performing employees or top 10 highest paid salaries, etc., etc. In that particular scenario, if you don't aware that, if you're not aware of that, uh, nulls will be ordered, nulls will come in the top of the result set. If you arrange the data in ascending order, then you will get wrong output. So these are the small things that generally developers do mistakes and they realize later, but this is what we need to do every time. I hope the grouping concept and aggregation concept and ordering concept is also clear. Please respond in chat window if this is also clear. So just to repeat again, someone asked me, can you please explain order? So if you want to order the data, for example, select star from employee, order by age column in descending order. So we have null values present in age column. And if you arrange the data in descending order, all the nulls will come at the end. All the nulls will be treated as equal and they come at the end if you arrange the data in descending order. And if you arrange the data in ascending order, all the nulls will be treated as equal and they come in the beginning of the result set. So that is the small difference that exists when we use order by. So I hope this answers your question, Satish. Yeah. So let me move to the next example. I'm using TimDB database for this purpose. And let me create two tables. And let's create some two tables. And let's insert some data into the two tables. So let's look into the data. So we have table 1 and we have table 2. If you can consider these two tables as a development table and production table. So if you find there is table 1 on the top and there is table 2 on bottom. If you see, there is a small differences between these two tables. For example, if you consider the row 1, the M value in table 1 is different from M value from table 2. Similarly, I value in table 1 is different from I value in table 2. Like that, there are some small changes in any of the column of the row from table 1 to table 2. But if you observe row number 4, row number 4 is equal in both the tables. Row number 4 is exactly same in both the tables. So let's see, we want to find out all the records that are changed from T1 to T2. For example, you have a development server and you have a production server. You want to compare these two tables, or else sometimes when we are comparing the data and when we are comparing the schema, we use different tools like schema compare and data compare. If you don't use them, if you want to do it manually, then this is the similar test case for that. Find out all the records that are changed from T1 to T2. Something like data compare. We are doing a data compare from two different tables which are having exact schema. So some beginners may write this particular query because we have a column called ID, which is having primary key. We have an ID column in T1 also. We have ID column in T2 also. And if you observe, we have I value column, C value column, and M value, which is exactly same in T2 column also. And you can compare the data types also. So both the tables are exactly identical. That's the point I want to make here. And we can able to join these two tables based upon ID column, because that is the common column between these two tables. And once you join, and whenever I value is not is equal to T value, or C value is not is equal to C value, or m value is not is equal to m value from both the tables, then give me the output. That is how we find out all the records that are changed from T1 to T2. So this is the query that generally people write who are, let's say, beginners in T-SQL. People generally write these kind of queries to identify the difference between two tables. Let's execute this. So what is the output that we are expecting? Other than the row 4, we are expecting all other 4 rows. So, but instead of getting all other 4 rows, we have got only 5 rows. What could be the problem? What is the problem in this particular query? Please put up your response in chat window. What is the problem in this query? So I'm getting some answers. Cannot compare null values with not equal to operator. Null check not applied should be and it is or, and nulls are not comparable. Comparing null values. I'm getting more responses. Null treated those records matching as false. Can use is null of I value comma. Answer from J Mohan. Very good answer. I'm waiting for a few more responses. Yes, I have got a couple of more responses. Null treated those records matching as false. Can we use collage function here? Yes, we can use the collage function also. We can use isNull function also. I'm getting to that in a while. The point here is, as few of you had said already, the point here is that we cannot compare nulls using equality or inequality operators. I mean, we cannot compare nulls using logical operators. So logical operators like is equal to, not equal to, sometimes like greater than, less than, cannot be used to compare nulls when ANSI nulls setting is on. So ANSI null is a session level setting. It is on by default from the latest versions of SQL Server. If you read the MSDN, it says that in a future version of SQL Server, ANSI nulls will be on, and any application that explicitly set the option to off will generate an error. So avoid using this feature in new development work and plan to modify applications that currently use this feature. So if you turn off ANSI nulls, then you will be able to compare nulls using logical operators. But as MSDN says, in the future versions of SQL Server, ANSI null will be on, completely on, and you won't have any control to change it to off again. So it is recommended that we should not use not equal to or equal to, I mean logical operators to compare null values. So we should not use logical operators to compare null values. So what is the other option we have? So we need to use is null or is not null expressions to compare nulls instead of using is equal to or not is equal to. So whenever you want to compare two null values, you need to use an expression called is null. I'm not talking about is null function. I'm talking about an expression is space null. If you look into this particular statement, we need to use is null or is not null expressions to compare nulls instead of using is equal to or not is equal to logical operators. So let's rewrite the same query like below. So we have the same join condition. Select start from T1 as T, and I'm doing an inner join with T2 and giving an alias name as yes. And we are joining these two tables on ID column where ID is equal to ID. And now we are filtering the data. When I value not is equal to I value, when s dot I value not is equal to d dot I value, or s dot I value is null and t dot I value is not null, or s dot I value is not null and t dot I value is null. So we are trying to put up all permutations and combinations for that particular column. So if at all the value is not null, then this inequality operator will work. If at all the value is null, then it should be one of these two conditions. I value is null, but t dot I value is not null, and I value s dot I value is not null, but t dot I value is null. So I'm just trying to put up all possible conditions for one column. Similarly for s dot c value, similar conditions, and for m value also similar conditions. So if you write all these multiple conditions, you will be able to get the correct results. So if I execute this particular query, we have got exact results. We have not got the or record number 4 with id is equal to 4. We have not got that because that is exactly same. We have got only the records which are different from table T1 and table T2. So our output is correct. But what is the problem with this approach? Because we just have 3 columns to compare and our query is already long. And if you take a production size tables where you have hundreds of columns and sometimes with 50, 60, 70, 80, 100 columns, and if you want to compare all the columns, then you need to write 3 conditions for each column. So over a period of time, your query will become very, very huge, and it is very difficult to maintain, and you will get constant errors while maintaining this particular code. So this query yields correct results, but maintenance of this particular query will be little difficult. So we need some other alternative for the same query to avoid all these maintenance issues. And sometimes, right, whenever we have a longer query, we are tend to do some mistakes, and after that error handling will be very, very difficult. We don't know where the error is coming from. So that is the problems while writing such type of a queries. I hope you understood the difference between this query and the previous query, and also the reason why we should not use this approach. Please put up yes in chat window if you understood this approach. If you have any questions, please put them up in Q&A panel, because we are constantly talking in chat window, so questions will get lost. So please put up your questions in Q&A panel. So at the end of the session, we'll be able to try and answer few of the questions. Yeah, looks like the concept is clear for most of you. So what is the other option? As some of you have already told, Coalesce function or isNull functions are used to handle null values. So Coalesce function, let's start with isNull function. IsNull is a function which is used to handle null values, and it accepts 2 parameters, right? First parameter is a column, and second parameter is an alternative value. If the column is null, what is the value that we should provide? So the isNull function accepts only 2 parameters, wherein, and that is standard also. IsNull function is standard. That means that can be applicable for other SQL dialects as well. So Coalesce function is explicitly for T-SQL. That means it won't work outside T-SQL, meaning it won't work in Oracle, it won't work in MySQL, etc., unless they implement it in a different way. So Coalesce is a T-SQL only function which accepts multiple parameters, and if the first column value is null, then it will accept such subsequent not null value. So that is how the Coalesce function works. So simply to put, Coalesce is a shorthand of multiple case statements written together. So if you have a case statement, case when column is this, then value. When column is this, then value. That is the case statement you build, right? So Coalesce function is a shorthand of writing multiple case statements together. So these are the 2 columns. These are the 2 options we have to handle null values. So let's write our query in this way. To get the same result, we are rewriting our query by applying a Coalesce function. The syntax of using isNull is also exactly same. I have the syntax here. We will be sharing this script file with you as well. But syntax of writing the same query using isNull function is here. But both of them are same. So here is the query with Coalesce function. Here is the query with isNull function. So what this Coalesce function is doing? So we are applying a coalesce function on both the sides of logical predicate. Here in this particular case, not equal to predicate. We are applying coalesce function, and if the I value is equal to null, then substitute that null value with some value. So the selection of this value should be very, very important, because that particular value should never exist in our data. So that is how we should be selecting that particular value. So this is where this particular approach will be very, very difficult, because we need to find out a unique value for each column in the comparison, which will never come in your data. So we need to come up with that particular value just for our comparison's sake. If this particular value is null, then we are substituting that with this value, and this side also, right hand side also, if the t dot I value is null, then we are substituting this value. Then the null is replaced with some value of that particular data type. The null is replaced with some value of this particular data type. Here in this particular case, it is integer data type. So when you have an integer data type, you can able to compare two values using not equality operator or equality operator. So what we had done is that we have replaced null values with some random value which will never come in our data, so that we will be able to compare these two values instead of comparing nulls, because nulls cannot be comparable using inequality operators. So this is another approach. Why we are using this approach instead of using is null or is not null is because is not null, is null expressions making our query very, very big. To make our query maintainable and to look it short and to troubleshoot it very faster when we have errors, we need to rewrite this query in a shorter format. And while doing so, we have a couple of issues. One such issue is that we need to come up with unique value for each column, which will never come in that particular column. So that is one challenge. And another challenge is that whenever you apply functions on the left hand side of a where predicate, whenever you apply functions on the left hand side of where predicate, you are making your query non-sargable. What do I mean by non-sargable? Non-sargable means even though you have an index on that particular column, here in this case, even if you have index on I value column, SQL Server will still not be able to seek on that particular column, because we are applying a function on top of the column. So SQL Server will consider this as an expression and try to find out LHS is equal to RHS, or else LHS not is equal to RHS in this particular case. Whenever a column became an expression, SQL Server won't be able to use indexes. So that is the biggest disadvantage of using this particular approach. So using functions on the left hand side is not recommendable. If possible, try to avoid that, so that your SQL Server able to seek on existing indexes. So because of these two reasons, using coalesce method or is null method may not be good always. I hope coalesce and is null concept is clear. Please put up S in chart window if you understand how we have written the query and why do we need to find out these values and what are the disadvantage of this method. If you understand all these things, please put up S in chat window. Okay, looks like everyone able to get this thing properly. So let's look into this one. Please explain non-sargable values once more. So how many of you already know this concept called sargability? Please respond in chat window. How many of you already know, or let me put it in this way. How many of you don't know the concept of sargability? Please respond in chat window. So looks like most of you don't know the concept of sargability. So let me quickly explain that one in next 2-3 minutes, and then I'll get back to this particular coalesce again, so that our concept is very, very clear. So whenever Let me open a new session, in new session window. For example, this is a where condition, and we have a column. We have a column here, column value here, or column name, and we have a column value. So this is how we generally write our queries, where some column is equal to some value. If that particular column is equal to this, then we are applying some filter on top of our data. This is how we generally write our queries. So if at all we have an index on column 1, SQL Server will able to go to a root page. If it is a clustered index, I mean, SQL Server will directly go to the root page and try to find out this particular value there. And if it is not there, it will navigate down from root to intermediate and intermediate level to respective leaf level pages to find out this particular value. This is how the index generally works. I hope this concept is clear. How index work using B-tree structure. So this is how SQL Server works whenever you have an index. So we generally support SQL Server with proper indexes so that our search will be very, very faster. So if the search is faster, thus reducing overall execution time. So that is what we call, if SQL Server can able to use index, then our query is called sargable query. So when I say sargable, it is not English term, sargable. Search argument ability. That is what I mean by sargability. It is not a English term, it is a DBA coined term. Sargable means search argument ability. So whenever SQL Server is able to use index, that means SQL Server able to seek on indexes, that means our queries are sargable. And whenever you apply some function on top of the left hand side on a column, so for example, if you want to compare left of comma 10 is equal to some value, right? Whenever you write modify queries like this, whenever you're applying some function on the left hand side of the query, and the query is no more a column, because for each row SQL Server has to apply this function. For each row SQL Server has to apply this function and compare the output with this particular value. So this means SQL Server has to touch all the rows in the table. So SQL Server will always do a scan. That means you won't be able to seek on your indexes. Even though you have an index on column 1, that index will not be able to, SQL Server won't be able to use that particular index. So these type of queries are called as non-sargable queries. So this is what I meant by sargability and non-sargability. So in our case, whenever we apply coalesce function on the left hand side, SQL Server has to calculate left hand side and calculate right hand side and apply this logical operation, thus by touching all the rows. So we won't be able to use indexes, if any, or they're on I value column or C value column or M value column. So this thus makes our queries non-sargable. That is what I meant by non-sargability. I hope the concept of non-sargability is clear. Please put up your response in chat window. So there is one response from Pavan asking, are both clustered index scan and clustered index seek or sargable? So it's not about cluster index scan and cluster index seek sargability. When I say sargability, it's the ability of SQL Server to use index, ability of SQL Server to seek on index. That is called search argument ability. So I hope the answer is clear, Pavan. So it is same for isNull function also, because you are applying a function on the left hand side of a where predicate. So even this particular query is also non-sargable. So even though we made our query very short and neat, but we have two challenges. One is that we need to select unique value for this particular unique value for each column like this, and our queries are not able to sarg. So because of these two reasons, we need some other alternative. As someone, Devendra, he asked for alternative. So here is a small alternative. If you see, we can use intersect as a rescue in this particular case. So generally, what is the understanding of intersect? What does intersect do? Please respond in chat window. What is the purpose of using intersect generally? Intersect generally gives the common value between two data sets, right? So if you apply intersect operator between two data sets, it will give only common values. So in our particular case, if you look into our requirement, if you see, we are looking for rows that are joined based upon the value of ID column. If you see, we are looking, we are joining our tables based upon ID column, and we are looking for the values that are changed in either of the columns. Like if you find our problem here, find out all the records that are changed from T1 to T2. That means we are looking for rows that join based upon the value of ID column, but which contains a difference in at least one column. Even though the difference is in one column, we need that entire row. Yes or no? That's the problem here, right? Find out all the rows that are changed from T1 to T2. So effectively, we are looking for rows that join based upon the value of ID column, but which contains a difference in at least one column. So if you want me to put it in other ways, for each row that joins, the intersection of two rows should be empty. If the intersect is same, that is common value, right? If the intersect is empty, that is non-column, not common. So for each row that joins, the intersection of the two rows should be empty. That means there is some difference. So taking that understanding into the consideration, we are just rewriting our query like this. Just applying intersect operation between all the columns other than ID, because that ID is there in join condition. You can include ID also, but I have just excluded here because we know that is different. And we have joined the table and we have find out all the differences, and just by using not exist operator, we will be able to find out all the records that doesn't match within the both the tables. If you look, we have not got row number 4 because row number 4 is same in both the tables. And other than row number 4, we have got all other 4 rows. So we have made our queries very, very simple, and by taking the advantage of intersect. So what is happening here? So why does intersect treats nulls as equal? As I already told you, in our when we are discussing logical inconsistencies, set operators group by clause, order by clause treats nulls as equal. So that is how SQL Server treats nulls. That's where we have discussed under logical inconsistencies, where clause, on clause, and having all these predicates will treat unknown as false, and whereas check constraint treats unknown as true, and whereas group by, set operators, and order by treats nulls as equal. So here in this particular case, we have used intersect operator, which will treat nulls as equal. So if you look into the execution plan of this, and if you go into XML plan, and if you scroll down, and if you see the comparison, this is the column we are comparing: I value, s dot I value, t dot I value. And if you see the comparison operation is. So that is how set operators treat whenever you're comparing two nulls. So because of this behavior, we will be able to get the proper output. So sometimes what will happen is people tend to write queries like this. If select one where t dot id is equal to s dot id, and t dot I value is equal to s dot I value, t dot c value is equal to s dot c value. All the values we will find the equals, and we'll join the tables. From this result set, if any row doesn't exist in this, give me the output. So people tend to write this query if they don't know this particular intersect approach. So if you do this one, what will happen? This query will return incorrect result sets because the row number 4 should not be there. This query returns incorrect result set, because if you look into the execution plan, show plan XML, and if you scroll down to that particular s dot, you can see it here, t dot I value, s dot I value are compared using equality operator. So if you use equality operator, two nulls cannot be equal. If you use is operator, two nulls can be equal. That is the exact difference between using intersect and not using intersect here, along with not exist operation. So this is the small difference, and this technique is very, very useful, which will help you to help your queries to SARG, because you are avoiding Colliers functions on reasonable functions on the left hand side of the query, helping SQL Server to use indexes. So these are the couple of advantages of using intersect, and a few things about how SQL Server treats nulls differently in different elements of SQL Server. And sometimes if you look into if condition, for example, you have an if condition, if let me take this particular thing. If you have an if condition and you will define some condition here, and if condition is true, then you execute true statement, right? And if and else you execute other statement. This is how we write if conditions, right? So if condition, the condition is true, then the statement, else this statement. What if the condition is null? Can anyone answer? Like, if condition is true, if condition will execute true statement, else this statement. What if the if condition evaluates to null? What SQL Server will do? Null is false, someone is saying, and returns true, returns false, raise the error, waiting for a few more responses. So as I told you, different elements in SQL Server considers nulls as and treats nulls differently. If condition, if evaluates to true, it executes true statement. Evaluates to false or unknown, it executes else statement. That is the behavior of if statement in SQL Server. If the condition evaluates to true, then true statement. If the condition evaluates to false or unknown, SQL Server will execute else statement. So that is the behavior of if condition inside SQL Server. All these things you can create small test cases and test, because we have a time constraint, so that I won't be able to show all these small things. I just wanted to show you the good technique of using intersect when comparing null values, so that it will be very useful for your production queries. So all these small differences, like how SQL Server treats nulls in while condition. How does SQL Server treats nulls in while condition? Please put up your response in chat window. How while condition treats if the condition evaluates to null, unknown. So while condition, if it is true, then it will execute the while it will start the while loop. If it is false or unknown, it will completely skip that while loop and move on to the next step. That is the behavior of while statement. And similarly, like case statement, we have merge statement, we have. So you can go ahead and check and do test cases uh, for all if while clause, if clause, while if statement, while loop, and case statements, and similar like merge statement. And you can find out, for example, if you have a unique constraint on a column in SQL Server, one null is treated as a unique, and if you insert another null, that will be treated as a non-unique value, that will be treated as a duplicate value. That is how unique constraint treat null value. So these are the various things that exist in SQL Server. And I'm doing one more session this Saturday in Bangalore, Microsoft. So if you come there, we will be able to discuss more on these null scenarios. So with this, I just wanted to uh, conclude this webinar, and please put up your questions in Q&A panel. While you put up your questions in Q&A panel, I'll just go through a couple of slides. Let me stop and share the other screen. So if you want to follow, if you want to follow all our social channels, all the links are available in chat window. You can follow any channel as your wish, and you can post your questions also there, and you can ask questions, you can answer questions, etc. And all the links are available in chat window. The links will be available in chat window in shortly. And a word from our knowledge partners before I take Q&A. So SQL Maestros is our today's knowledge partner. SQL Maestros is coming up with video courses on SQL Server performance tuning and T-SQL querying and programming, which are based upon master series. There will be comprehensive coverage, which will be advanced and deep dive. There are so many expert level modules that will be present. And the best advantage of subscribing to a video course is that you can watch anytime, anywhere, and as many times as you can. And all these modules will be constantly updated. And if you to learn more on these video courses, you can visit sqlmaestros.com, or else you can simply drop an email to contact@sqlmaestros.com. Very shortly, in next couple of weeks, we will be releasing these video courses. Amit Bansal is doing SQL Server performance training video course, and me along with Amit Bansal doing two crash courses on T-SQL querying and T-SQL programming. So please visit sqlmaestros.com to know more about these video courses. And SQL Maestros also revamped the website to launch hands-on labs in a different purchase model. So hands-on labs is a community project launched by SQL Maestros, wherein you will be provided with a log document which will have step-by-step instructions followed by scripts, explanations, observations, and respective screenshots, uh, so that you will be able to learn any particular topic on your own. So at the end of the document, you will be able to become expert in that particular topic. So there are more than 100 labs on SQL Server, Azure, Power BI, Analytics, etc., etc. So once you purchase the lab, you can keep that lab for life, and you can use as and when you need it. And if you wish to know more about hands-on labs, you can visit sqlmaestros.com, or else you can simply drop an email to contact@sqlmaestros.com. So these are other learning solutions of SQL Maestros. You can visit sqlmaestros.com to learn more about all of them. So thank you for your time, and feedback. We have our team has posted a message in our LinkedIn group. Please go ahead and put up your comments there. Here, the link is available in chat window. Please use a chat window to post your comments there, post your feedback and your questions, comments, etc. So your feedback is really important for us to come back and deliver more sessions for the community. So let me go ahead and look into the Q&A panel. While you can go ahead and click on the LinkedIn link and comment there, post your feedback there. While you're doing that, I'll go through the Q&A session. So Naresh has the question: why both the table data in same row, two table data showing up in top? So just because I have put select star, that's why two table data is coming up, because we are doing a join on both the tables, and I'm using select star instead of putting up a column. That's why we are getting all these results. Why only use join? So if you use only join, means that we are doing an inner join. That's what I'm doing. To combine two tables, I'm using a inner join. That's what I meant by that. Jaymohan have a question. The results, the common values. Jaymohan, can you please repeat the question again? Because you must have asked the question in between the session. We have moved on to something else. So please rephrase your question again. Prakash has a question. Sargable concept is applicable for other database like Oracle. Sorry, Prakash, I'm not sure about that, because I only work with SQL Server. So I'm not the good person to answer this particular question. Sorry for that. And if you have any questions, you can use Q&A panel. I have seen a lot of questions in chat window, so I cannot go up because there are a lot of messages in chat window. Please repost your questions in Q&A panel so that we'll be able to go through all the questions. Please put up your comments in Facebook and LinkedIn groups. That will encourage us to come back and deliver so many other sessions as well. And please don't forget to register for the upcoming event in Bangalore. This Saturday, we are doing a half-day event in Microsoft Bellandur office. So you can go ahead and register for that particular event as well. So the theme is on SQL Server 2019. There will be one session on intelligent query processing, and I'm repeating the session with few more examples. You will be able to get a lot of knowledge shared there. So register, go to go to dataplatformgeeks.com and register. Yeah, you can use Telegram to post all your questions, Satish. So looks like there are a couple of questions in chat Q&A panel. Naresh has a question. When I contact 3 column and 1 column value is null, then it return full null value. First name is equal to Naresh. Last name is equal to null. So using is equal to operator, when ANSI null is equal to ANSI null setting is on, you cannot compare last name is equal to null. And if you have a first name and last name columns, you have a where condition which is having more than one column. It always depends upon whether you are having or condition or and condition. If it unconditioned, both the columns should be satisfied, and if one column yields to null value, the entire output is null. If it is or condition, even if one value is true, the output will be true. That is how SQL Server treats. So your 3 questions are answered in the same question. I hope I have answered the question. And Satish have a question. Can we use Telegram? Yes, Satish, as I already answered this one. Naresh, I hope I answered this question. So if you are comparing multiple columns, it is more important that whether you're using or and condition. If it is unconditioned, all the conditions should be true. Even if one condition evaluates to unknown, then entire result set is unknown. If you are using or condition, even if one condition is true, then entire result set is true. That is how SQL Server treats nulls in this particular case. I hope that answers the question. Looks like there are no more questions. Thank you, everyone. Thank you for joining the webinar, and looking forward to meet you in the next webinar, or else if you come to this Saturday, we'll meet you there as well. And please don't forget to give comments in our LinkedIn group. Thank you, everyone.